I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Thursday, August the 25th, brought to you in part by Livestock Risk Services, your LRP professionals. Guys, if you aren't looking out at those LRPs, at what you can guarantee, especially if you got some wheat cattle you're going to turn out, and you can lock those prices in on those coming off wheat, it's a no-brainer. You can get in there and do that. Call them at Livestock Risk Services. They can tell you about what it's going to cost. They'll tell you about how much the government's going to kick in to help pay for that premium. Something new, if you guys are new producers, new backgrounders, you've been handling cattle less than 5 years, or it's your first time, you can get an additional 10% to help pay that premium from the government. So, I mean, you know, somebody's going to get it, guys. Don't feel guilty about taking it. It's kind of the offset of all the free money that the row crop farmers get, and this is about all we're going to get, guys. It's not going to be any bailout deals because they are throwing a lot of money at this LRP program. But also look at it, you cow-calf producers. You can lock in your calf prices at some pretty stout prices, and then kind of transform your operation and start becoming margin operators. Pumping the brakes. I can feel it this week. Can you guys feel it? It feels like, especially your corporates, both your corporate packers and your corporate feeders are trying to slow this thing down just a little bit. I mean, it's kind of like they're out there waving lanterns to try to slow up a runaway train with nobody manning the cockpit there. But that's kind of what they're trying to do. We saw that on Wednesday morning, your packers came out with bids that were not as high as what they had on Tuesday afternoon late. And that hasn't been the norm here for the last few weeks on this up market that we've seen. Just to kind of feel like they're wanting to woe this thing down a little bit. And if you think they're not working together to try to get that deal down, you're kidding yourselves. We're also starting to see some of your big corporate feedlots where they're most prevalent. They've kind of agreed to maybe kind of back things off just a little bit. We have seen a few sales where those corporate feeders are most prominent, like in the city on Monday, and even at El Reno to a degree on Wednesday. Markets are still really good, but they're not as high compared to the previous weeks as some of our other smaller sales, and especially our sales in the northern plains, because your farmer feeders, they don't G and haw with that. They're going to buy the cattle as long as they want to buy them. They want to feed cattle. They want to walk part of that corn to town. They feel like a lot of them do, that they've got a pretty good corn crop here, and they want to look for some options on cashing that in. But man, you talk about the crop tour that's going on right now, and you can't find anybody that's real excited about this crop. Now, we did see them coming into Illinois on the third day of the crop tour, and they can't just come out and say that it's not any good, because it's going to be a great crop there. You know, they can go in there and hunt and find some damaged ears or something like that. But like I said on our previous visit there, you don't see farmers bragging on their corn crop until after harvest, and then you'll start seeing them do that. But we didn't see your corn go up big like we did on Tuesday. Wednesday was just up marginally, and your beans are actually down as they got into some beans in Illinois that looked really good. But because your feeder cattle were down on Tuesday, that kind of gave your fat cattle buyers reason to think that maybe they could back up bids on Wednesday. Because corn was up on Tuesday, it caused your feeder cattle board to be down big. But literally, your feeder cattle price on the board especially, and your corn price has nothing to do with current sales of fat cattle. I mean, absolutely nothing. Of course, they'll glean on to any kind of bearish tone that they can get anywhere, but that, you know, they don't have anything to do with one another. You got to admire your northern plains cattle feeders that sell cash, which, half of them or more sell cash in Iowa, more than a third of them sell cash in Nebraska. They pretty well just held back. They want at least steady or better money than they got last week. They know that these cattle are not grading nearly as well as typical. Our grading is down compared to the 5-year average and compared to the last 2 or 3 years. So they know that these packers are really needing some of those better grading cattle. They know that they got them on their show list. They're going to make them pay for them. These regional packers are coming in early in the week and up in the market, a buck or maybe two, and that's usually where the market stays. But the heck of it is, they're fooling your big 4-packers because they're coming in there for only a buck or maybe two, and they're creaming the show lists earlier in the week, and you can't blame them. That's what they do. More power to them. They're creaming the show list, getting the best cattle off of there, and then setting the market, and that's the way things have been going for the last several weeks. But also on our feeder cattle prices, the south, and I'm talking south of I-70 pretty much, they'll have some northern type cattle in there, but really your northern feeders, the guys in Iowa and Nebraska, and especially up in South Dakota and places like that, they get nervous buying feeder cattle much south of I-70 this time of year. Now, we've always said that they will buy southern cattle to feed up until Labor Day, because then they can get those cattle through the feeding period before it gets really cold. But we feed cattle a month longer at least than we used to. So you can assume that they were out, and talked to John Cooper there, auctioneer at El Reno, and he said they had one northern guy on the internet on Wednesday and didn't see the guys that they had been seeing from up north. They call them the Yankees, come down into buying the cattle. Of course, the cattle still sell really good in El Reno. I'm not trying to say that they don't, but their quality is a little bit plainer, and that's just this time of year, guys. It's just starting to happen. We're getting into some plainer type cattle in all of your sales in the southern plains. But talk about your board. On Wednesday, August live cattle futures down 30 cents at 141.32. October down 82 cents at 143.77. Your back months on live cattle down 15 cents to down 67. So not a big mover, other than October lost, over 80 cents there. But talk about feeder cattle for August. After being down big on Tuesday, Wednesday saw your August feeder cattle up 32 cents, and it's trading about a buck higher than what your index levels are at. So it's just kind of jostling in place here for the last few sessions before it goes off the board. But at 181.22, September was up 57 cents at 183.02. But then they started tailing off on your back months of feeder cattle, because they are starting to think that maybe this corn is going to get higher again. Corn was really high, and then it backed way off, and now it's starting to come up again. But your back months on feeder cattle unchanged to down 60 cents. Talked about a lot about corn on Tuesday, as it was up over 25 cents, but on Wednesday it was up 2 cents at 6.57 cents a bushel. Soybeans down 4 cents at 14.57, close of regular trading there. Fat cattle trading, we started to establish things a little bit more on Wednesday, but I still feel like we haven't seen our higher prices. Like I said, your packers come out playing hardball on Wednesday morning. They were pretty much bidding 234, dressed widespread on Tuesday afternoon, come in Wednesday morning and made like 230 was all they were going to give. Well, we saw some confirmed address sales on Wednesday, and none of them were as low as 230, and some of them were as high as 234, but they had to haggle around with them a little bit, and the guys in the northern plains have leverage to do that where the southern plains doesn't, and we didn't see any trade at all on Wednesday in the southern plains. Colorado, confidential of course. Iowa, 2,600 head, which they still haven't traded near enough cattle in Iowa, but 2,600 confirmed through the day on Wednesday. Live sales from 147 to 148. That's in there pretty tight with last week, but we did see more of that 149.50 and even 51 last week, and I think we'll get to seeing some of that here later this week. But dress sales in Iowa 232 to 233. Nebraska 8,400 head confirmed on Wednesday. Live sales from 145 to 148. Dress sales 232 to 234. Kansas just had one little deal, less than 100 head being northern Kansas on some very best cattle, sell at 143 live. That would be a buck better than anything that they sold so far this week. But your market is 142 in the Southern Plains. Whether they want to trade more that way or not, we'll see. But we saw them the previous week sell 141 and then for 142. I'm not sure if we're going to move to 143. It would be good to see them, close that gap a little bit on the disparage between northern fed cattle and southern fed cattle. But unless the board really rallies late in the week here, I'd be surprised to see them get that 143. And I think that that one little deal in Kansas was pretty exclusive. Texas, no confirmed sales on Wednesday at all. Box beef cutout values, just kind of mixed there, but mostly lower. Choice cuts up 3 cents is all at 262.83. Selects down 118 at 237.62. Slaughter running ahead of schedule, 375,000 through the first 3 days of this week. That compares to, it was 2,000 more than last week, 24,000 more than the same week a year ago. Several big sales going on in your video sales. I talked about Northern Livestock Video, had a Monday, Tuesday sale this week. Bighorn Classic with Superior Livestock has been running all week here. I'll give you some sales that they've had so far this week, and that's what everybody's looking at, is it's kind of establishing the price for fall delivery calves. And we've kind of been establishing that, but it's been moving up. But if you look at your north central sales, which is most of your mountain states there, and but in the 12 state region there, other than the southern sales that make up the rest of the 12 states that go into the index. But your October delivery ball and calves that don't have any premiums on them, but that's the norm there. There was 3,800 of them in the north central sales that weighed from 550 to 600 pounds at delivery for October. Average weight 568, weighted average price 215.88. That gives you guys an idea on those heavy 5-weight steer calves to deliver this fall in October. October delivery of light 6-weight steer calves, like I said, balling and no big premiums on them. 3,500 head of those, weighted average weight 613 pounds, weighted average price 208.18. Sounds pretty salty there. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV auction. Late in the day on Wednesday, sitting at 180.21, down 83 cents. It's right in there pretty tight with your CME cash feeder cattle index at the end of this contract month, which is at 180.50. And like I said, your August feeder cattle futures contract was trading about a buck higher than those levels, so it's going to back right in there to settle. When the cash settlement, whether you like it or not, cash settlement always converges whenever it matures. Talk about your big sales on Wednesday. OKC West, El Reno, Oklahoma, 6,600 head there, and I've been selling them higher every week just like anywhere else. But this week on Wednesday, your feeder steers steady to weak. Feeder heifers $3 to $5 lower, and like I said, the quality may be not as good as what they've had here for the last several weeks, but it's just getting to be that time of year. Calves on Tuesday $4 to $8 lower, with spots as much as $10 lower on your calves. Dodge City, Kansas, winter livestock 2,800 head there, continuing to surge there. Feeder steers $6 to $10 higher. Feeder heifers $3 to $6 higher. Steer calves $10 to $15 higher, and heifer calves $3 to $4 lower. Starting to feel a little bit pressure in there anyway at winter livestock in Dodge City. Stick out sale in Dodge on Wednesday was 78 head of steers, weighed 908 at 185 and a half. Talk about Creston, America, Creston, Iowa there, 2,500 head for the Customer Appreciation Day sale. Had several stick out deals. I'm going to give you the one that I thought was the most impressive. They had Tom Fry, the legend, former owner of Creston, America, sale there. He was back behind the mic there selling for his son and Kurt Sporleader, but had a really toppy sale on this one load of steers. 68 head, 847 pound steers bring 190.75. Talk about Ogallala Livestock Auction. They always have big sales there. They had big sales on everything, but I picked out this load of lightweight, and it wasn't a full load, about a half a load of lightweight heifer calves, as we've been talking about the steers all the time. But 52 head of little heifer calves in Ogallala weighed 396 and bring 227 a pound. How about Platte Livestock Market in Platte, South Dakota, right there, and the South Dakota famous Kinsey brothers sold their cattle in there on Wednesday. A load of 1,046 pound steers bring 182 and a quarter. Load weight 1057 at 182.75. Both extreme stick out sales there at Platte Livestock Market. But they had a sale in Bassett, and that was your Zoetta stick out sale of the day. Bassett Livestock Auction, Bassett, Nebraska. Way up there on the Yellow Brick Road, in the Sand Hills of Nebraska. Had about 3,900 head. Look at this automated market report from Bassett Livestock Auction on Wednesday. They were well tested in many, many weights all across the scales there. And I'm going to give you several of these. You guys can follow along with me. But you look at 284 head of 5-weight steer calves, Bassett, Nebraska. They average 544 with a weighted average price on all of them of $232.85. 250 head of 6-weight steer calves, average $659 with a weighted average price on them of $217.21. 221 head of 7-weight steer calves in Bassett, Nebraska, average $736 at $207.14 weighted average price on all your 7 weights there. 244 head of 8-weight steers averaged $843 with a weighted average price of $188.82. 497 head of 9-weight steers averaged $958 with a weighted average price on all of those of $183.41. Picked out the biggest well-tested weight group of heifers. 906 head of 8-weight heifers. It's hard to make a heifer weigh 8, guys. They averaged $863 with a weighted average price on all those 8-weight heifers of $178.48. And then also Bassett had your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day. 85 steers weighed 690 at 221.50. They were spiking the punts once again. That's your feeder flash for Thursday.